So, we all know the big thing that happened, and this video is something I've been working on for a little bit. I'll touch on this later, so... A few months ago, I made a video on Pikmin 1 and 2. One of the main takeaways was that nature is beautiful, and that appreciating nature is important. It's calming and alluring for good reason. The smell of trees, the cycle of life, and the beauty of the world. It's breathtaking. Anyway, yeah, fuck nature. This game is the embodiment of what happens when Lockheed Martin is given a blank check and America is deployed to give the world a helping of liberty. And it's one of the best horde shooters I've ever played. This game is... I love America. I mean, Super Earth. I love democracy. I love liberating the the solar system. We hate minority. Bugs. We hate bugs. Boy howdy. Why do I love this game? Because I can do this. And this. And this. I'm doing my part. I love this game, and it's consumed a lot of my time since being released. I couldn't get into the original Helldivers. It was a twin-stick shooter with the same premise of fighting larger and larger bugs or robots, using Lockheed Martin to keep yourself going. Unfortunately, it's never held my interest despite knowing it was a game strongly supported by its developers. So, fast forward to Helldivers 2, the change in perspective really sells the experience. Any game that's able to immerse you heavily by providing you with a butthole-clenching experience fighting against hordes of creatures is worth a look in my book. You are a Helldiver, a member of an elite fighting force, pushing itself to fight for the managed democracy of Super Earth. Your enemies threaten your very way of life, your way of being, and so you're dropped on the planet into the thick of battle, against bugs, cyborgs, and whatever else might be looming in the distance in the galaxy. I don't care if your planet is a shithole, I'm going to take control of it. There are no classes or skill trees in the game. You're equipped with a gun, a sidearm, some grenades, some sippy juices, and most importantly, taxpayer dollars behind you to overcome what the galaxy has to offer. Despite your label as an elite Helldiver, you're incredibly expendable, and that means you're fragile. You fight together, or you dive trying. Wagey, get back in the caging. And that's the main gimmick. You aren't just running and gunning, you're calling in orbital bombardments to liberate this shithole planet. Your tax dollars, after all, give me the funding to drop this 500-kilogram bomb into this giant bug. Stratagems refer to the Lockheed Martin abilities you and your fellow Helldivers have. These range anywhere from support weapons, defensive emplacements, or offensive bombardments. You'll inevitably get overrun, and bombarding a planet is the best way to get yourself out of a sticky situation. Taxpayer spending, after all, is a great equalizer to rival the odds. You call these down by inputting the right combination of directional keys. These remain the same with each stratagem, meaning that no matter what, napalm is always going to be up, down, right, up. And the faster you memorize these combinations, the better it's going to be in the long run. And the game rewards skillful stratagem usage by not having you be killed when you're trying to call down a cluster bomb on your position. Support stratagems are your third weapon slots and range from GPMGs, anti-tank weapons, flamethrowers, and anti-tank autocannons. These act as power weapons that give you certain roles to fulfill. Oftentimes when I play shooters, I try to get a feel for how the weapons handle. I really immerse myself into the experience, ready to blow my dear comrades up. And most support weapons have weight and clunkiness built into their design. You turn slower, and the heavier weapons like the machine gun and recoilless rifles require you to sit still to load the weapon. Some of the heavier weapons feed slowly, and as a mean to mitigate that, the game encourages friendship and teamwork by having several of them be crew operated. The recoilless rifle's rate of fire triples if someone is there to load the weapon for you. Backpacks are support items that you can keep on your back. Stop me if that sounds too technical. Sentry drones help keep fire off of you, ammunition for heavier support weapons, personal shields, and the best support backpack in the game, the jump pack. Just look at how much fun I'm having with this one. Offensive stratagems refer to either orbital bombardments or bombing runs. Eagle runs provide a variety of different effects. Effects that include immediately deleting whatever you pointed your beacon towards in a fast and speedy manner, or delete whatever you pointed your beacon towards in a slow, painful, and comforting manner. A good rule of thumb is that explosion radiuses are always larger than you think. While orbital bombardments are spread out artillery raining down from the sky, objectively, bombardments are like throwing a bunch of large rocks at an anthill hoping you can crush the ants in a smart way. But that's not what Arty's for. It's for destroying defenses, demoralizing the enemy, and vaporizing your fellow teammates you didn't tell you were calling an Arty for. Wait, you're dead? Hold on, let me just quickly reinforce. Defensive stratagems refer to defensive emplacements such as sentries or minefields. Don't forget that sentries don't check for whoever's standing in front of it. Tell me, is Machine truly evil if it doesn't determine its alliances between human and enemy? What separates my motor sentry that melted my teammate from the automatons that we're killing? Don't think about that too hard, you commie sympathizer. Don't tell your teammates about the minefield that got embedded into the body of a bile titan that's readily coming your way with an incendiary minefield. I'm sure it'll be fine. The core gameplay loop typically boils down to drop in with their chosen stratagems and weapons, wander the map and complete objectives, objectives, fight off the masses, die in the process, occasionally because of your teammates' incompetence, and hopefully exfiltrate. It doesn't really matter whether or not you're dying horrific deaths down in the fields. Your mission isn't over unless you've completed your main objectives. Uniquely, failing to extract doesn't matter as long as you've completed your main objective, rewarding the player despite failing. Despite how simple the core gameplay loop is, it's genuinely surprising how enjoyable the game is due to an ever-changing dynamic of not knowing what the game throws at you. And as you increase the difficulty, you realize that the best people to keep around are the friends you made along the way. Raytheon and Lockheed Martin's Javelin missile launcher is $178,000. A single missile is approximately $78,000. A single Tomahawk missile is $1.87 million, and AC-130 costs $134.4 million. Friendship, however, is completely priceless. Helldivers is a game that makes me realize that the truest way to accomplish overwhelming odds and daunting challenges is with the power of friendship and millions in taxpayer spending. Mission payout is determined by several things: outposts and bug nests cleared, optional objectives, main objectives, the amount of Helldivers extracted, mission time remaining, and the difficulty associated with the mission. You get rewarded medals and requisition that can be traded in for stratagems, firearms, armors, and other cosmetics, and I actually really like the skins in this game. Just being another grunt, and customization being within that parameter is very appealing to me. Armor ranges from light to heavy values, trading off speed for higher defense. Each armor comes with a unique passive that helps your survivability provide additional resources to fight with, but in truth, let's be honest here. The fat fuck armor is the best one because you look so fucking cute. In all seriousness, I really like playing with light armor. I can run away faster while my allies deal with the rest of the enemies. The game starts you off with some standard affair weaponry, and what I honestly love is the progression of how stratagems are interpreted. The basic orbital precision strike is powerful, and when you first use it, it'll probably activate several neurons watching it tear through a crowd of enemies like it's nothing. But when you compare it with the stratagems you get later in the game, it's as comparable to wet farts. And presentation-wise, this game is genuinely jaw-dropping for being so great to look at. I love watching enemies get shredded and torn apart. The basic machine gun, despite how simple it is, feels godly as you mow down hordes of bugs and bots. But bullets can only do so much against armor. The flamethrower is a recipe for suicide, but it feels immensely enjoyable to be a firebug, only to get set on fire when a bug throws itself in your direction. Calling down explosive anti-tank weaponry and watching enemies get an explosive lobotomy continues to provide me a dopamine rush most other games can't possibly replicate. I love seeing the unique planets and biomes and atmospheres that the game provides. Being knee-deep in the shit makes it immersive, and stopping to take a look at these planets and the diverse environments makes Helldivers breathtaking. Unless you're me, and you're playing on lower settings to record gameplay. Helldivers works on a galactic scale, and yes, there's a dungeon master. A god, even, controlling the fate of the galaxy at hand, and unfortunately for him, everything his power touches belongs to Super Earth. Week by week, there'll be major orders in different planets that'll need liberating. We're fighting a war on two fronts, and the greater Helldiver community will fight on those planets. Ask players who fought on Malevolent Creek and you've got people consumed by an endless trauma born from conflict and misery about how they feel about their tours. Post-traumatic stress disorder? Post-traumatic swag disorder. Each mission's terrain and design is procedurally generated, and each planet has a different environment or biome associated with it. Biomes can also have their own hazards like meteor showers, tremors, and tornadoes and blizzards. Have fun. Now, if you play the game, this is all probably redundant. The whole video is redundant. You probably already own the game, but you're watching content on top of content you already like, so truthfully, what does that say about you? Nathan, stop watching this while on the shitter and get back to work. So, why do people like Helldivers 2 so much? What differentiates it from every other live service game? Generally speaking, Helldivers is more than the sum of its parts, and its success is not the result of subpar systems. In retrospect though, it's actually also not that complex of a game. The truth is that Helldivers has complexities that do interact with each other in a diverse set of ways, but it is far less content than people give it credit for. In no way am I saying that that's a bad thing. Helldivers 2 is a super open-ended and dynamic game, which gives it the ability to use the small amount of content it has and stretches it as far as possible. I'm serious, has anyone actually thought about the amount of missions there are in this game? But the combination of procedurally generated levels, unique biomes, a sadistic game director, and multiple different ways to approach different factions gives the game a level of dynamism that just isn't seen anywhere other than the best titles in the genre. I don't like a lot of live service games, but Helldivers 2 does its community justice, regularly creating events for players to be invested in, a community-wide campaign that people can see the progress of, and regularly dropped content to ensure that the community does not get bored. I can 100% see the post-game content slowing down over the course of the next year, but I'm thoroughly impressed with the game so far. Its developers are known to be incredibly communicative, to support their games long-term, and open to ideas from its community. It's got premium currency items that can be unlocked with a bit of in-game grinding, avoiding a microtransaction pitfall. It's managed to avoid fake empowerment through millennial writing and creates a universe that sticks to its guns that's just about spreading democracy. And and I like that. Its developers sincerely believe in the project, and compared to other co-op games that I should make a review for, whether you think this is an amazing game or not, Helldivers 2 deserves your respect. There's also just like a lot of small details in this game that makes you feel incredibly immersed, and I really fucking love that. Gunplay feels really good. Guns have just the right amount of kick to them, the way that your aiming reticle jumps independent from your crosshair. Weapons have just the right amount of power and beef to their sound design. Ragdolls of enemies being blown away or going limp after getting hit with an anti-tank round sells the power of the weapons that you're using. Artillery and other bombardments deform the soil each salvo lands on. When you're fighting the bots, you can literally terraform the world to provide you cover against overwhelming odds. Your Hellpods, when reinforcing or dropping resupply, can kill an enemy if timed correctly, and kill your teammates as well if you're not careful, leading to moments of comically horrific timing. The satisfaction of blood, guts, and viscera as your character gets visibly more and more covered in garbage really immerses you into the mentality that you're an expendable grunt. Heavy enemy corpses being left behind that you can climb up on, which can then in turn be used as cover, while other heavy enemies like tanks are exploding on death or dropships being taken down can kill you because explosions hurt. The main theme also gets me hyped every time the Hellpod drops, which... I also like the commitment to how every Helldiver is a nameless, faceless mook, allowing you to project whatever kind of character you want to be under the mask. There's an unadulterated commitment to how expendable you are, extending to friendly fire, and how there's no damage reduction based on shooting your teammates versus shooting an enemy. It's just a really good game, and given how much people have gotten into it already, I can expect to see this game heralded as a classic that lasts for years. But there are a few criticisms, though. This game is pretty fucking jank.
Oh, that's a tank. Oh, sick. Oh, where am I?
There's a lot of bugs, the computational kind that you'll run into. Not enough for me to say that the game is bad, but general game stability ranges here and there. And while writing this review, there was a period of time where people were unable to use electric arc weapons due to the possibility of the game crashing. Balancing's also kind of funky. Obviously, bringing the right equipment matters, but bugs like hunters can outpace you and you get punished harshly for getting hit once, and that can lead to deaths. Spears also have slightly funky hitboxes. What's displayed on screen might not represent the actual hitbox, while rocket devastators can snipe you from across the map, being killed from an unseen angle across automaton missions. Edit: the damage of rockets was addressed. They are not as obnoxious. Obviously, these are minor drops of an otherwise phenomenal game. It's easy to point fingers at companies that shit out poorly developed games that are horrible bugfests, but fun, communicative, and passionate developers truly give people hope in an era devoid of passion. Wait. So this entire review, I jumped the shark. If I sound a little different, it's because I'm recording this at a different point. There is something that is wrong with the game, and like many things, it's too good to be true. If you're not aware, when the game first launched, there was a notice asking for players to sign into Helldivers with their PlayStation Network accounts. Because of massive server problems, it was disabled and deemed optional. Even going into this, the PlayStation website had mentioned that signing in was optional. The publisher for Helldivers 2, Sony, had come out and announced that signing into PlayStation Network was mandatory. If this doesn't bother you, if you don't care, if you already play this game on a PlayStation 5, then hats off to you. I hope you're having a good time. After all, why should I care about a company that doesn't particularly care about safekeeping your user data? Who's to say what happens when that information gets stolen? Most people don't really care about their privacy, but I do. They say that it's about keeping the community safe. Why would they need an easier time banning people when their community manager mentions they can already ban players? Regardless of whether or not the end user license agreement never said anything about a PSN account on launch, whether or not players are forced to agree to the user agreement whenever it's updated by Sony Interactive Entertainment, something about it stinks. Oh, and if you live in a third world region like the Philippines, Egypt, Puerto Rico, metropolitan France, or Antarctica, good luck. You can't sign up for PlayStation Network, meaning that you probably won't be able to play the game. And if you purchased it in those countries, congrats, that's gone out the window. For the backward savages of the United Kingdom, just submit your government ID to Sony. It'll be okay. I'm 100% sure PSN should be trusted with your personal information. But hey, if you lived in North Korea and the timeline where this policy was passed, I'm sure you would have been fine. Thankfully, given the amount of attention this has gotten, and the amount of people actively review bombing the game on Steam, Sony has come out and mentioned that they're reversing the decision to make PSN required to play their shitty fucking game. I wonder whether or not some higher up at Sony is getting fired for trying to go through with this decision. I hate major console companies. I hate AAA publishers. I hate Sony and their shitty garbage plastic box. Sony, as a whole, is an incredibly dodgy and untrustworthy company. Since 2008, the company's data has been breached and information has been stolen upwards of 9 times. But hey, this is the same company that's published multiple remasters of Last of Us, and Bloodborne still has no PC release. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. Plenty of people do have PlayStation Network accounts, given that many people own a PlayStation 3, 4, or 5. But it's the principle of having a major gaming corporation change the terms and conditions of the game that they publish post-release. It's the fact that 177 regions around the world would lose access to a game where they were able to play for 3 months, only to have their money taken. Some Chinese fella made a VPN to create a PSN account in a country that did have PlayStation Network, only to be banned for IP hopping. The problem has been dealt with, but it's not hard to assume that PlayStation corporation might try to pull a fast one on their community when the overall player base has fallen off in years to come. The reality is you should take Sony's existence with several layers of skepticism, and seeing this whole fiasco happen really just says that everything great about a game can be taken away by corporate suits who have no idea what they're doing. The game is still very good, just be aware who you're dealing with when you're purchasing it. The review is now over. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I may be a bit more experimental with the content to produce on this channel. If you found this marginally enjoyable, I suggest subscribing. I'd appreciate the support on this channel. Check out my streams on Twitch. I also have them live over here on YouTube as well. You can watch me play all sorts of fun retro games. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, get the fuck off my roof.
Good night, everyone.
Oh.